I'm so full of piss and vinegar because of tonight's movie, Moonshine, if you will.
This is episode 112 of Seddy Bimco, Part 2, The Revenge. And we continue our tour of the 50 nifty United States because we're going to visit South Carolina. We watched Herschel Gordon Lewis's Moonshine Mountain.
Yep.
Which I know George hated. But
and I know Tim loved.
But let me get to it. I have an age-old question.
Oh, boy.
George, did the farmer, did he ever get revenge on the salesman who sold him a scarecrow that only frightened Old Man McFenderson? And Old Man McFenderson had been dead 5 years, George. What was going on with that guy?
Well, I mean, then it's actually really useful because it sounds like he was the fucking undead.
I was going to say,
yeah,
scarecrow that only scares Cro-Magnon people. I thought, nah.
Or given that we're talking about South Carolina, that frightens people that make Jim Crow laws.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge.
America's premier revenge-themed podcast.
We are.
We are.
And every week when we watch a movie, we think of a character from that movie, and we pick a wildcard question, and we ask what character from this movie would be most likely to. And
let's see if it's one of mine, finally.
We did one of yours. This is number 4. I'm sorry.
Nope, it's not one of mine.
Number 4. Who's most likely from this movie, most likely to get kicked out of Sweden for asking where the fancy elevators are?
Tim Hamilton.
I wasn't in this movie.
That's what you said.
God.
Yeah, I have my suspicions about this movie.
Before we get to that, we did promise we'd talk about our top 10 favorite movies.
Yep.
But we thought we'd reveal one a week because we know you really want to know.
Keeps them coming back, too.
You know some of George's.
Can
I guess another one? We're going to guess. So we already know Shining and Jaws, I think, if you listen to other weeks.
Yep.
So I'm going to say...
I'm going to reveal my number. I'm prepared to reveal my number 1.
You also... I know you... Raiders of the Lost Ark, so let's just cut that.
Yeah, number 1 right there.
So
there, I got mine out of the way.
Popeye.
No, but close. That could be, that's a, here's the thing. I love the Popeye movie dearly. I know it's a flawed movie though, but there are parts of it that are just like so fucking good. All the musical numbers, for instance.
They're making a new one, so.
Are they really?
Yeah. I saw
Let me guess, Chris Pratt's playing him, right? Because Chris Pratt plays everybody.
So try to guess one of mine. I got like 12.
And
you said Muppet movie last week. I was like, that should be, but not really.
Yeah, you said it should be, but it wasn't one of yours. So I'm going to say a snuff film.
Come on.
Serious question. Are you counting stuff like Zapruder film and Patterson Gimlin film?
No.
Okay.
Actual movie. It's about
all right. It has to be an actual movie. White Christmas.
No, it's not a favorite.
Yeah, it is. All right, I give up.
If that came on, I wouldn't care. Really? You have no idea?
No idea. You're inscrutable, Tim.
Well, one of them is M. You know M?
No.
It's a Fritz Lang movie made in Germany. Starring
Metropolis?
No, it's called M. Starring, damn it. Okay. Who's the guy in Casablanca? He's the little weird guy.
Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre.
He's in it. He plays like a serial killer who's killing children. And the police are coming down. Police are coming down on the organized crime. Like, who's doing this? This is it's upsetting the city. And so organized crime is like, oh, the police are coming down on us. We got to find this guy. And so it becomes a film of the criminals hunting this guy who is like realizes, oh my God, they're all hunting me. It's a good movie. It's like black and white. It's shot
I have just
nice.
made a realization. You are going to have a highfalutin list of folks. This is one of your periodic reminders that Tim is a New Yorker cartoonist.
Yeah.
He is cultured. His pinky is always sticking out when he's eating caviar as we record. And and his film tastes are going to be mine. Mine. You already heard Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, stuff like that. Crowd pleasers.
I'll give away one more because I have like 12, and I will shatter your theory. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, wow. That's actually almost, I mean, it's a little bit too early, but I got some strong vibes of that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Watching this movie.
Wow. Should we go to it, or you got
no? Because I have
you got things to say, George?
Well, I mean, the thing is, sometimes we have such good segues lead into the movies that we actually forget to do our factoids.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. We're going to the factoids
yeah.
and
Let's
then
do
the
that.
film.
Yeah. So, Tim, remind the listening public, what movie are we watching, and what 50 nifty state is it representing?
1964's Moonshine Mountain, because we did North Carolina with Whiskey Mountain.
Yep.
And this is South Carolina.
Actually, no, I didn't put it together as the two Carolinas. That's awesome.
I should say.
Well done, Tim. Yeah.
This is known as a exploitation film. So, I mean, I know there's nice people in South Carolina, but I also know there's a few people that could be like this movie out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But we're sorry, South Carolina, for what's about to happen.
Are we? I don't think we are. All right.
It's Herschel Gordon Lewis. And I looked at reviews on Letterboxd of this film, and every single person's like, I like Herschel Gordon Lewis films, but this was pretty bad.
Well, I read those same reviews, and they all say something. I like Herschel Gordon films because of the gore and the boobs.
Oh, right.
This movie was, it was maybe, if you stretch it, there's some gore, and there's not really any boobs.
Nope.
Though, apparently, from what I was reading in scenes, it sounds like the version we watched had some stuff cut out of it.
I could tell that.
Yeah.
There's a few spots apparently I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. There. Well, maybe we'll get to him. I don't know. I did, Tim. I did not take copious notes this time. My notes are exactly like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some notes. I wrote 8 things. And 3 of them are currency kerners.
I got some notes.
Yeah,
I got a list. I told George at the last minute that I read there was a paperback novelization of this movie for some reason. Yeah. Oh my God. I feel bad for whoever had to write that.
I mean, it was probably, honestly, like they say it's a collector's item. I bet you it was Gordon Lewis under a pseudonym.
Might have been.
Because he does that a lot in his movies. If you look at his IMDb, he's credited under a lot of different names, and he is a man of many talents. In addition to being director, he does music a lot for his movies and stuff. I'm sure. Yeah, boy. But yeah, having to novelize this thing. What else? Do you have any other factoids about South Carolina?
Do I have facts? Are you done with your facts?
Yeah. No, I haven't even begun my facts, Tim.
Oh my God. Well, I just have the J.G. Patterson was in this. He was in She Devils on Wheels.
Which character was he?
Have no idea.
No idea. I don't remember anything about She Devils. I'm not even sure if I saw that.
Yes, you watched it.
I did? Okay.
You were a hater.
Oh, that was the one where like there was a sexual assault in the first couple of minutes.
And the ladies
and that's where they peed on the girl?
Yeah. The girls peed on the men.
And the guys peed on the girl in the beginning too. At the rest stop.
I forget.
Everyone was getting peed on in that movie.
Well, you go ahead with your facts. I have a few others.
I actually wrote a top 10 list.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I was so inspired by South Carolina. I got so excited about this state and this movie.
Okay.
And yeah, it starts off pretty dry. It was founded in 1712. It is one of the original 13 colonies.
Mm-hmm.
That's one fact. Yeah. Number 2, it was the first state to secede in the Civil War.
Yep.
Unfortunately true. That sucks.
Fort Sumter.
South Carolina, do better. 3, it led the country in exploitation of child labor.
Ooh.
Yeah,
what year?
That's also true. Up until the child labor laws that were passed in like the early part of the century. Yeah, gotcha. I should have said that. Dance, the Charleston, is named after its most populous city, Charleston.
Oh, not after the candy bar?
No, well, actually, my next fact, Charleston chews are named after the taste of the tangy human flesh that would be harvested from Charleston after they'd have the Charleston dance contests.
Gotcha.
All that dancing made the flesh stringy and chewy.
Got it.
That's number 5. Yeah. Number 6, it's called the Palmetto State because the only thing worthwhile about South Carolina is like it's got big cockroaches in it, apparently.
Ooh. No.
I guess.
Further south you go, they get bigger, so Georgia must have bigger ones.
Yeah, but why do they call themselves the Palmetto State? Palmettos are giant cockroaches.
The tree. Oh, you're being funny. Gotcha.
Maybe
there's
I'm
a
being
tree.
funny.
There's a palmetto tree on their
Maybe
flag,
I'm being
George.
funny, Tim. Maybe you should take my joke and drag it out in the backyard and shoot it. How's that?
Being a real Cavlasto.
It's the only state with a gay, not openly gay senator. Hi, Lindsey Graham.
Oh, good one.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Ooh. It's the third most popular Carolina.
Who were the first two?
Well, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there is a Carolina in Puerto Rico.
And that's okay. That's more popular.
And then there's this, South Carolina. I assume it's South Carolina. Let's see.
I met Carolina Johnson from my.
And tying into that, do you want to know what the leading export of South Carolina is?
Tobacco.
No, it's actually people leaving South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And my 10th most amazing fact about South Carolina is Moonshine Mountain was filmed there. So that's my first list. My top 10 list.
All right. You got all my facts.
Oh, I did have two more facts that weren't part of the list. I got pretty excited because I typed in, first elevator in South Carolina, right?
Right.
And this article comes right up. Charleston, oldest elevator, first passenger elevator in the country. I'm like, hot damn, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, it turns out it's Charleston, Massachusetts in 1843. It seems like they're maybe still waiting for elevators in South Carolina. And as far as streetcars, December 1866, again in Charleston, was the first streetcar. It ran for 70 years and was dismantled for automobiles.
70 or 7?
70.
Ooh, 70 years. Wow.
Yeah. Which sounds impressive until you realize that means that ran until 1956. They're like, we don't need these anymore.
Yeah.
No, less. Way less. I just did 90.
Oh, I didn't hear your year.
It's like a shit out at the war. It's like, you know what? Cars.
Yes. It was named after Charles I of England because Carolus is the Latin for Charles. There you go.
Yeah. And Charleston was named after him, Charles, too. So it's like Charles.
No joke.
Yep.
Is that it?
Anything else you want to add?
That's it. That's all. There is no wiki page for this movie, everybody.
There's no wiki page for South Carolina either.
No. Yeah. Somebody started building a Moonshine Mountain wiki page, but they gave up, and nobody ever tried to build a South Carolina wiki page. Well, we'll segue right into this film with this great music. Okay, start.
That's what's in white lightning, white lightning, white lightning. It's a drink you can't sip through a straw.
Hear that?
Yeah, I want to share. Like, I knew I was in for a rough ride because first, Tim sent me several texts over the last few days, like, "Yow, don't sit on this movie. This one's great." And I know when Tim's excited about a movie, it's gonna be an awful movie. And then as I went to call this movie up on Tubi, where I watched it, I saw it listed as comedy, drama, musical. I'm like, oh.
It is none of those things.
It kind of is all three, though. That's the thing. Like, it really did. It really. There's one of my few comments I wrote because this movie does do a lot of covering of musical. Like a lot of music features in this, which is kind of surprising. I wrote this movie is "Oh Brother Where Art Thou," who was shot by Herschel Gordon Lewis. I think that's
if you like
accurate.
That music, they have a lot of that music in there: banjo, guitar.
They kept calling it. They kept calling it pickin', and I didn't like it.
Nope.
Like, this guy's a real good picker. Do some picking. It sounded like somebody was like picking at a scab or their nose. It was unsettling.
Now, did you have captions on? So you could read the great lyrics to this song? Oh, my God.
No, gosh, no.
It's a song about white lightning. It's a drink you can't sip through a straw. That's all I wrote down. I thought George is going to write down the rest of these amazing lyrics, right?
No, that actually gives me a good list. That's my
you
first
already have a list? Well, you just made it up when I said that?
No, because, there was a word used that was a clue. So it occurred to me, this movie, Moonshine Mountain, it has this whole song about white lightning, which made me think of, grease lightning with grease. Right. But I looked up, turns out white lightning is another name for moonshine.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize, which made sense after seeing the movie and stuff. But so I have a list of other words for moonshine.
Let's go.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Number 1, fire water.
Okay.
Number 2, earth wind.
Okay.
Number 3, black lightning. Number 4, the rest of Batman and the Outsiders.
No one's getting that joke but me. And a few people.
What was I up to? 5? Hooch. Number 6, Turner. Yeah. Number 7, this is true, Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. I think they said that in the song.
Did they?
Yep.
And the final one is Tim Juice.
Tim Juice. Okay.
That's been my list. I hope you played the new list of music over it. Yeah.
Tim Juice. Right. That sounds bad.
Other word for moon. It does. That's, yeah. Don't recommend. If you're drinking moonshine, folks, I don't recommend you drink the Tim Juice variety. You might be in for an unpleasant surprise. But
then we go right into incidental banjo music from the Beverly Hillbillies as our hero arrives. There are no heroes.
Describe our hero.
It's country western singer Doug Martin. He's a great TV country and western singer. And all these girls come out and try to rip his skin off.
Yep.
Like all together in one little group. As if led by...
It does show that this is 1964 because this is clearly, as I watch this, I'm like, this is some Beatles shit.
Yeah.
Like this is definitely like the Beatles have decided. Herschel Gordon Lewis is like, I want to encapsulate on some of their fame. I do. I don't know if he sounds like that, but
we're going to talk like that a lot in the next hour.
Oh man. Can you do the main Hicks accent?
When we get there.
Okay. Nice.
You mean Pa?
I didn't write down any names. Tim asked, I told Tim I'm not writing notes. He's like, please write down the names. I'm like, nope. He sent me a bunch of names. I deleted it from my phone so I wouldn't even have to see him. I remember one was named Luther because I thought briefly of making Superman jokes.
Yeah. I'm making them. Superman.
That's it.
Superman the movie.
Yeah. Go on, do your Otis impersonation.
Are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? That's my favorite bit, the whole movie.
Nice.
And then later Luther finds Otisville, and he's like, yeah, Otisville. It's just a little place, Mr. Luthor.
I always think of the scene where he's trying to escape by the hot air balloon, and because he's such a big fatso, every time he takes a step, it pulls the balloon down. That's insulting.
Fat shaming. That's Superman 2.
That was Superman 2, indeed. I bet you that was the Dick Lester edition.
He was kind of left out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a story there.
Because he had gone to the bayou and gotten sodomized by hillbillies.
Jeez. Long before that, George. Long before.
Okay.
So, Doug meets reporters, and he says he's come to this valley to do something, and he actually has to get out a piece of paper because he can't remember what he came to this valley to do. That's never explained.
Wait,
you don't remember this?
I was so befuddled by the beginning of this movie. Like it was like a lot of times when I'm dropped into these movies hot like this, I don't know what's going on until like a half hour in. So I remember he was mobbed by girls. The fact that he had to take a paper to remind him.
Yeah. He's like, he wants to live with the common folk and
he feels ways. Like, and he wants to like get their soul, their music, right?
Yeah. He wants to learn where milk comes from.
This is when we should mention that there is not a single person in this entire movie who isn't the liliest shade of white.
Yeah.
So he's going to learn this like traditional like country music, and like boy, he's going to the whitest corner to find it.
He tends to buy what he needs from the simple people. He's going to make a song called "I Want to Live Like Simple People" so that Pulp doesn't sue him. That
Yeah. But he's secretly holding out hope that like William Shatner does a cover version of his one too.
Wants to live like simple people,
or common people's might be,
or the common people, which was the real one. Yeah. Pulp did common people, he's doing simple people.
Simple people.
So he drives into town. I don't. You said you took no notes. He stops at a shack where people are sitting out front and buys a drink from them, a Coke, I guess, or
Coke. Okay, not Pepsi.
It's just a shack. It costs a nickel, and Doug's flashing money around. He's like, "All I got's a 20." Doug doesn't really talk like that. He's from the city, by the way.
Should I share what a nickel costs? And should we do my first currency kerner?
George's current currency kerner.
Coke cost a nickel.
Yeah, and so the spending power of that is now equivalent to 50 cents.
That's all?
That's it. Yeah,
what?
You're going to be surprised. There's a few more current currency kerners.
Wait, George.
This was a very inexpensive place to live.
But George, a nickel back then would buy an issue of Spider-Man, and today it's $5. So what's going on?
Well, I guess I don't know what to say about that.
Comics,
I mean,
they're insane.
Tim, which Spider-Man was there a Spider-Man title in 1964?
What, didn't it come out in 1962?
Oh, he came out like 61 or 62. Yeah. More comic talk with George and Tim.
But that guy's like, you got $20. You could buy a lot of Beatles albums with that there 20. See?
I mean, $20.
That's what he said.
He does say that. And $20, that's enough for him to spend 10 nights at the hotel.
Yeah.
As we learn later.
The hotel. It's called The Hotel.
The Hotel.
It's a joke.
Yep, we'll get to that.
I couldn't find much humor. I only saw one joke in this movie.
There was one joke I thought was okay, but I probably don't remember to say what it was.
In Doug's suit? That guy named Ed. His name is Ed. He's like, you sure got a nice suit. Must have cost $4. You heard that?
I didn't
$4 suit? No. Oh, you didn't do?
You played it. I could actually do a quick figure out of a current currency calendar. That's a $40.30 suit.
It's still cheap.
Yeah. Was he the guy that somehow, to move this plot along, he's rendered unconscious and the guy steals his jacket?
Yep, he trades his jacket. It's what he says.
He trades it.
He won't trade his car. Could that be stealing? I don't know what he traded it for.
But he knocks him out, right?
I know. And he says he traded it. Maybe
How
he traded
does he knock him out, Tim? Like that part was confusing to me. It was literally an instance where I looked down for a second.
Oh, he said, your tire's on fire. And he looks and he hits him in the head with a log.
Yeah, so he literally pummels him unconscious, puts him in there, steals his coat.
So I traded your coat. Gave you my bowl of rocks I usually eat for lunch. I don't know. Something like that.
Yep, something like that, Tim.
Doug wakes up and goes back to that store, wants to call the police, but that guy says, ain't no good to call no police. I'm not going to do this all the time.
I mean,
it's like, ain't got
guys,
no police.
And as over the top as you might think Tim's accent is, it's not going to prepare you for how these accents really sounded.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Like, I will say the main hick, the Papa Hick, whatever his name was. Pa? Oh, that's pretty close. I did enjoy his voice.
Really?
It was so over the top. It reminded me so in a weird way of like Baloo the bear. Like he was this big robust. He's like, "Yolly woo." No, actually, it was kind of like Slim Pickens. If like Slim Pickens was wandering through the jungles of India and found Baloo the bear and seduced him, and made sweet ursine love to him, and then later one of them gave birth to like a half man, half bear hybrid. It'd be this guy.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
I stymied. I just
stymied me.
Tim broke. Me. He's like, he's picturing Baloo having sex with Slim Pickens now. He's like,
I was gonna think that was a movie we were gonna watch.
Maybe.
So he calls New York City, and that one guy is obsessed with getting his dime back from the phone because it's a collect.
Yeah, you want to know how much a dime is worth? George's current currency Kerner.
George's current currency Kerner.
This is the one bit that's not expensive. That doesn't. Everything else is super cheap. Mm-hmm. So a dime to make a phone call back then. A dime has the spending power of $1.01 now.
Ooh, that's
expensive phone call.
Yeah, for back then.
Tim, the currency calculators I use are very precise. They tell you the exact rate of inflation. It's an impressive science.
It's a big part of our budget. So Doug is walking down road with his guitar, and he hears a bunch of people singing about the Lord and this world is not my home. I'm just passing through. I looked at the lyrics because they're singing gospel music, and it's the family: Pa, 2 daughters, Ed, who stole his jacket, and another guy whose name I forget.
Yeah, blonde guy.
They're all singing and playing banjo, and there's a woman.
Should we describe these people?
It's not
so Pa, like, is the aforementioned. He's like he looks like Baloo the bear had sex with Slim Pickens.
Yes.
The guy who stole his coat is like a weird little skeevy guy. Mm-hmm. It's all crunched over in a scrunched up face. There's a blonde guy, just kind of like a normal looking blonde guy, kind of hickish looking. And then there's the classic farmer's daughter archetype, and then there's the other farmer's daughter.
Who
there's the one
tooth blacked out and has an insane look on her face the whole time.
Well, is that the one with the dark hair or the one with the?
I think it's Mary.
There's a lot of teeth missing in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, the blonde lady's supposed to be slow. I realized halfway through.
Oh, she's putting her fingers in and out of her mouth the whole movie, like like an oral sex simulation or a gun. Like, please get me out of this movie.
She's missing, like she's literally missing teeth, and she's the one with the beautiful singing voice, though, right?
Yeah, she does sing a few times.
Yeah,
so she's like a savant.
I think that's a joke when she starts singing. You're like, oh,
stupid, and then when she sings, she's like Yoda when he uses the Force to fight, and attack the clones. Yeah. There's a reference. Yeah. There's a current reference. Yoda's walking around with that cane, and suddenly he uses the Force.
That movie's only like 20 years old. That's a pretty reference.
That's what she's like.
That movie's more like 30 years old.
She's like Yoda. No, Attack of the Clones. Come on, that was 2000s.
I think that's 90s, isn't it?
Oh, no, George. The prequel started in
2002. You're right. 2002. Timely reference. Only 22 years old.
So they give him his wallet back. They're like, think it's funny they took his jacket, but they give his wallet back. And
doesn't he make a reference to like your wallet was full of all them funny papers?
Yep. I don't know.
So he doesn't recognize U.S. currency.
No. Just Confederate currency.
Apparently.
So he plays music, and they love him because they think he might be a federal man. They keep calling people federal men, like government.
Yeah, or revenuers.
There's always a government person coming to get him.
Yep.
Because the Smithsonian has been through and scared him.
Yep. And this is a time to interrupt all forward progress with another list.
There is no forward progress, really.
Yeah, it's really true. So I already did a list of other words for moonshine, Tim.
Yeah?
Now I'm going to do a list of other words for mountains.
I like it already.
A mountain. Yeah.
Mountain.
Number 1, peak.
Peak. Okay.
Yeah. Number 2,
Bob.
A hill, but a really big one.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3, earth boob.
Oh, no.
Yep. Number 4, lazy volcano.
Got it. Yeah.
Yep. And number 5, I don't know, but it's not a tumor. All right.
You got to do his voice, George. It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. I don't know. Not a tumor.
What about those earth forms that we think prehistoric man built?
Shh. That's when the Smithsonian comes.
That the giants built? Oh, okay.
Yep.
So a gun goes off, and the neighbors are shooting at him for fun. Ed Basham and Luthor. And Luthor doesn't speak. He whispers to people.
What's he whisper?
You noticed that? We never know.
No, I didn't.
Everything.
I noticed he laughs.
He just whispers.
What's he whisper? You can't escape me. Wait, what is that you say in the...
He goes,
I
don't know.
I know you're really Clark Kent.
Right.
And so forth and so on.
Yeah, anyway.
So...
In Superman, George.
Yeah.
It's always bugged me ever since I was a kid. You remember when Luthor goes, you know what? In a museum in Africa, they've got a piece of meteorite from his home planet. If we get it, it will hurt him. And it's never explained why he thinks that. Even when I first saw it, I'm like, why do you think it's going to hurt him? It's a piece of his home planet.
Because you missed, there's that scene earlier in the movie where Otis picks up a chunk of earth and throws it at Luthor and knocks him unconscious. He wakes up, he's like, Eureka.
All right.
Also, why does he know? I know that in the Superman movie that Superman stupidly tells Lois Lane, he's like, I'm from the planet Krypton.
Right.
Okay, cool. That's what your name is. That's what you call your planet. Cool. Why does Luthor know that asteroid is from the planet that he nonchalantly references? Wow, we just ruined Superman.
But it's still better than this movie.
Is it? Yes, it is.
They think Doug's federal man. Daughter's sucking her fingers. You would pass by all this.
Yeah.
They go,
so let's move on.
They go to another house because this lady's going to make some greens. I never know what these greens are, but everybody's really excited. Yep. This lady's going to make some biscuits and greens.
Yeah, I assume collard greens.
Yep. And
we should also mention this is the point when he has won their friendship by being a good picker.
Yep, a good picker.
And some guy shows up and just shoots at him.
Yeah, I said that. Ed and Luthor.
Yeah.
They just think it's funny.
They shoot at him? Okay, yeah, they think it's funny. Okay.
Like,
all right.
You got scared
so they go to this lady's house. She's shrill and screechy. I stopped listening to her parts because she was overacting and was hard to listen to. Oh, can we mention the film quality of this film?
Oh, it goes in and out.
It looks like somebody's home movies from like the 1960s.
Yes. It gets black and white. It gets yellow.
It literally does, folks. It goes in and out of focus in the middle of scenes. It's insane.
Well, the lady is just making jokes about Ed wants to take Laura to the dance. There's some shotgun jokes, Gotta get you married first before you be touching this girl. Stuff like that. There's a lot of laughing.
Yeah, so they go to the dance.
Oh, here's some music.
They play a bunch of music.
This is square dance music.
Yep. This is when I wrote down my theory that this was like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" if shot by Herschel Gordon Lewis.
I have a note here saying
which actually I have a list, Tim.
Well, I have a note here that the closed captioning can't tell me what the song is about. It's just question marks.
Oh, really?
Square dance songs.
You broke closed captioning. Well, I mentioned that this was it was the Herschel Gordon Lewis. Here's a list of I have another list, Tim.
Okay, I like it.
Are you ready? Yep. You don't like it at all. Tim is really mad, everybody. He has broke a pencil. This is a list of other lesser-known Herschel Gordon Lewis films.
Wait, okay, really?
Yeah.
Wow, we know them all.
No, do you know this one? This is for real. Boing.
I think I have heard of that. Is that a snuff
I'm like,
film?
wonder what that's. I don't know what it's about. There was one of his most famous movies. This was actually like the prequel to it, more of like a first attempt, and it didn't go right. It's called 1999 Maniacs.
Oh,
One of them
really?
was out sick that day. Yeah. So they refilmed it later as 2000 Maniacs.
They were able to get one more extra.
Yep. That one person. He's like, finally.
And then that Natalie Merchant saw that movie and said, "I'm going to start a band."
She's like, "I'll see you times 5." Because they're 10,000 Maniacs.
I know. I knew it, George.
Right.
I knew.
You know. Tim knows everything about Natalie Merchant, guys, because that's an old reference.
It is.
If that's a reference before 1988, he's got it down pat, everybody. This is another prequel to another famous movie. It's Monster A Goo Goo. It's about the monster when he was a baby.
Because there's a movie called Monster Go Go. Everybody knows that.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I guess this is kind of an inside baseball one. Yeah.
It's inside baseball, George.
Yeah. This one is exciting to Tim. Lockhorns the musical. Yeah.
That would be great. That would be great. Yeah. I wish I could help write those songs. Hint. I wish I could help write those songs.
And then there's one called Boobs and Blood and Stuff. Yeah, it just seems like it's pretty typical of stuff. Yeah.
It's like the Gorgor Girls.
And then another one that was a kind of an alternate version of this. It was called Mountain Dew Earth Boob.
What?
Building off my previous lesson. All right, let's go back to the story.
Yes, story. Wow.
All right, so they play music.
The sheriff shows up with a gun.
Sheriff shows up.
And they're so afraid of the federal men. He makes our hero, Doug, play the guitar to show he's a good picker and not just lying and pretending to be some federal man, but he's a good picker. So
and I want to just comment that the sheriff really bucks what you expect a sheriff to look like in these movies.
He looks like
doesn't have a pot belly. He does look like a sleazeball, but he looks like a big city sleazeball. He's wearing a suit and tie in every scene. No big sheriff hat. No, mirrored sunglasses. It took me a while to figure out what he was. Like, he definitely looks like a sleazy character, but you normally see a movie set in the South, and like the sheriff, it's like, a Buford T, whatever the guy is from Cannonball Run. Like, they're all variations on a theme. The guy who plays Pa would have been a more typical sheriff. So I actually give some credit to the filmmaker for having an atypical looking sheriff that took me until almost the last scene of the movie to realize he was the sheriff.
Come on, his car says sheriff.
Yeah.
Sheriff is tattooed on his forehead.
No, that's not true.
I did see words for this last song. One sip of country liquor will make you drunk quicker. One kiss from a country daughter will make you hotter. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. There's some weird references to sexuality in this movie that made me uncomfortable. And that
gets really bad later.
That's a list of what
I'm sure you're talking about the same thing I'm talking about.
Maybe.
Now back at the house, they force Doug to drink White Lightning. They show him the kiln, right?
Yeah, because he's now accepted as one of them, because he's proved his picking skills multiple times over. They're like, well, you might as well mention it in front of him. And he's like, what is this White Lightning? They take him to it's not a kiln. What's the word? A still. A still that is giant. It's like the size of a water tower.
Yep, on the ground.
And this is where they make the biggest batches of moonshine possible.
Yep. And they make him drink it. And they're like, come on, drink it.
Yep.
And he's like...
And he immediately blacks out.
He wakes up the next day. And George.
Yeah.
George, he's in a bed with no shirt. His glasses are off.
Yeah, wait.
Here's my list.
Oh, here's the list. Okay.
We don't know what happened to him that night. He passed out. I have a list of things that happened to Doug while passed out.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Number 1, Ed.
Uh-huh.
He took off his shirt because he wanted to see if he had a third nipple and thus was spawn of the devil. That's why his shirt was off.
Okay.
They were going to write nasty words on his forehead as a joke, but nobody knew how to use that fancy typewriter machine.
Okay.
And
oh, my God. That reminded me that... Wait, you're going on.
Last one. Mary Lou stripped him naked so she could play doctor with him and checked his stool for tapeworms. That's what happened to him.
Folks, he mentions the typewriter machine. There is a running theme in this movie where they have a TV and they don't understand how to make it work because they don't have running power.
Yeah, why do you have a TV if you don't have electricity?
So he had just gotten it. So he does wake up. This is the part I thought was actually kind of clever.
Oh yeah,
because he's kind of deaf because the stuff made him deaf, and then he shakes his head and there's a sound like rocks breaking, and then he can hear afterwards. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Because I thought
it's
that
also
was
the only time I rewound it twice because I'm like, what happened there? I'm like, oh, it's a joke. I get jokes.
I thought that was suddenly going to be a plot where he couldn't hear and he couldn't play and couldn't prove he was a picker.
Oh yeah,
but nope. No.
I want to say, Tim, this is the point when I wrote, I imagine this is what your childhood was like.
Mine.
Yes.
Waking up deaf? I don't
Waking up in a semi-nude state after drinking a weird substance from a giant still, going to a big hodag the night before, whatever that thing was.
I didn't live
having guns pointed at you, people stealing your clothes. Yeah, it just seems like what I imagine a Tim Hamilton childhood was like.
There's some odd part of the plot here that makes no sense because there's the hotel lobby. We meet the hotel concierge, and he's complaining to the sheriff that somebody keeps going in and out, not paying their bill, checking in and out. And I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, you know what that was?
No.
It was the revenuers.
Really? How could you tell that?
He says it. He's like, I could tell he was a revenuer.
I still wasn't sure.
And he actually says part of the reason is he's wearing a suit, which I'm like, so is the sheriff wearing a suit.
Yeah.
But this is like kind of the underlying plot here is that the federals keep sending down people to spy in this place for the moonshine.
Yeah.
Or as it's also known, the Black Lightning, the Turner, the Tim Juice, whatever you call it.
The Hooch.
The Hooch. And they keep disappearing. They keep checking out without paying.
Yep.
Yeah. This is where we learn that the hotel, George's Currency Kerner, $2 a night.
Yeah. Well, we
which
never
is
saw
now
his
the
room.
equivalent of $20.15 a day. Did you play currency music?
I'll do it now. I didn't do it.
Yep.
I talked over it.
You bastard.
George's Currency Kerner.
So I'll say it again. Yeah. So he's paying $2 a night at the hotel, which has the spending power today, Tim, of $20.15.
Ooh.
Very cheap for a hotel.
Still
Bet she's got worms.
I wanted to see his room. Never saw it.
Never saw it. Well, you do. We see his room, but he wakes up and he's naked.
Yep. Oh, is that his room?
Yep.
I thought that was the house of... I couldn't tell what went on in this movie.
Okay, but who the hell knows? This movie, who knows?
We see some sexy legs. This is the only skin we see in New York. It's Della, Doug's girlfriend.
Yep. I was pretty excited at this point, too. Yeah.
She calls him.
Feet,
she's angry. He's staying in South Carolina. Tells him to take his guitar. And yeah, I guess. She's just mad. Yeah. She hangs up on him. He's like, oh, come on, Dora. Come on, Dora. It's nice down here, Mr. Potter.
Or Della, as her name is, as
Della?
you said seconds before.
Della and Dora.
Also, he's not Southern.
Who the hell
is
is
from New York?
Dora. She's an explorer. Anyway. Let's get going. Forward, George.
Then the guy, the musician guy, then he goes, he gets in a big fight where she tells him she's moving out. Della, his girlfriend back in New York.
Yep, she puts on that song.
So the picker guy, our main character, he goes out, he finds the farmer's daughter that isn't, mentally impaired. Tells her, what do you do for a beau around here? She goes, I don't know. Why don't you show me? They make out. He walks back to the hotel room. Seconds later, Della's there. She flew there with those newfangled airplanes, as she says.
Wait, George, you missed the best line of the movie, though. I thought you were going to be outraged at this. When he talks with this Laura girl, she explains, we ain't the yokels you really think we is. I'm like, really? Sorry, really? Some of the things we see later, I'm like, yes, you are the rapey yokels we think you are.
That's true. But I actually have an argument that I'm putting forth. The best line in the movie is actually coming up now.
Okay.
Della shows up at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is minutes later. Like, her airplane must have flown over and she parachuted out. And she's like, where were you? Were you out with other women? Mm-hmm. He's like, what? Like, she has no reason to think this, even though it's absolutely true. And she says, and I quote, I wrote it down. And the whole time, the guy who runs the hotel is sitting there listening, very rapt. Mm-hmm. And she goes, you got more horns than a herd of rhinoceroses. And he goes, rhinoceri. She goes, what? He goes, the plural is rhinoceri. Tim.
Is that not true?
It's not true.
I wondered.
Yeah. I haven't double checked. I'm like, I don't think that's true. And now I'm also going to interrupt all movement for a list.
Is this the other plural words?
This is another list. This one was inspired because we were talking about words, right? I thought of, this is a list of words you could spell out the letters in the word South Carolina.
Wow, you're getting weird.
Yeah.
George is getting weird.
Number one, here's a word you can spell with the letters in South Carolina. Number one, South.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number two, ironically, North.
Ah.
Number three, anus.
Okay.
Number four, Corona. Number five, this one's for you, Tim. Oil can. Number six, this one I was pretty excited about because I actually used all the letters in this one.
Really?
Yeah, urinal cahoots.
I'm going to check that. I don't think that's a real word.
Check it out. Urinal. Well, it's urinal and cahoots. It's just like I did urinal. I'm like, what letters are left? Oh, cahoots.
George.
So it's like you're in cahoots with the urinal. And the last word I spelt, this is definitely for you, Tim.
Okay.
The word you could spell using the letters in South Carolina, Holocaust.
Oh. Yeah. No, you can't. That doesn't have enough letters. You're lying.
You're so mad.
Urinal cahoots. Right. Every time we play Scrabble, George is trying to say that's a word. I'm like, nope. Urinal cahoots. Double word score. I'm like, no.
Tim's like, I never heard the word urinal. Then he just pisses himself as he sits at the table. Like, Tim.
I thought you were going to have my list, George. I have other plurals. That guy's like, the plural of giraffesises is girassify. And the plural of elephantises is elephantitis. And the plural of flies is flues. There, that's all. I just wanted to say that's what he said. Yeah,
that's great. All right, so
I'll cut mine out and put yours in.
No, let's do both. Yours is good. This is the best episode we've ever done.
Oh my god!
So Della leaves because she's mad.
Yeah,
and she rides off. And she gets pulled over by the sheriff. And this is when I finally put together who the sheriff was. And the sheriff is being super sleazy.
Says sheriff, George.
That's why I put it together here. I didn't notice him getting in the car before. He's wearing a suit. And he shows up and says, hey,
that's the sheriff.
He pulls her over and he's like, you broke the law. And she's like, what law did I break? He's like, the law. And basically, they dance around it. But his whole thing is like, she's like, well, she assumes it's a bribe situation. Yeah. She's like, what can I pay you? He's like, I'm offended. You'd think I'd accept money.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you want to have sexicals.
And she also agrees to that. I'm like, what? Doesn't she?
Yeah. And it seems like, so this is the thing that's interesting. This is why I think we have the scene that's cut out.
It is, yeah.
Because last we see her, they pull over to the side of the road somewhere. Because he gets in her car, drives with her.
Yeah.
They pull over, they walk kind of arms around each other into the woods. And from what I was reading, apparently she does something. She fights back against him or something.
I figured she had a plan.
Yeah. It wasn't that she was eager to, because I was reading like this is a really bad idea of this woman that she's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to fuck this skeezy guy to get out of trouble. And she seems excited. Mm-hmm. She did something and then he shoots her. We don't see any of this. Although I did write at this point, I feel like this is my last note I took.
When he showed up,
is this suddenly a snuff film? Yeah. And we next see him. The scene the version that Tim and I saw had this part out where he comes back. He's just kind of disheveled, and
he says,
we don't see what happens.
I'm the sheriff. And George is like, I wonder who he is.
I wonder who is this guy? Is this guy some sort of sheriff? No, this is when I figured it was a sheriff because they pulled up. It was just surprising to me.
And he's just screaming, "The Federals are coming!" He's coming.
Yeah, that's it. It's really weird. Last we see him was walking in the woods, and then he shows up at the family homestead being the Federals are coming. Oh. I'm like, we're not going to see what happened with this woman?
What does he do? He grabs Mary Lou and just drags her behind the chicken coop. He's just like on a
I didn't understand that either.
What?
Yeah.
I was very obvious. I'm like,
yeah,
what is going on?
I didn't know what was happening. It was just weird. Stuff was definitely being cut out.
Yeah, so, and then later when they say, the sheriff went back chicken coop with Luann, and the father's like, well, he could have just asked permission first, and he laughs. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that, actually. That's gross.
Yeah.
I guess that's why she gets the final blow, so to speak. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
So, so the sheriff is then in town, and there's two guys who are federal. We can see they're federal because they keep showing their shoes. They have nice shoes. Everybody else is wearing like what I would affectionately call Tim shoes, just barely taped together or dirt or whatever.
Some duct tape.
And the sheriff is like, well, yeah, I think we found one of my guys just came back, Luther, and he whispers, just like Tim says, he found where your missing men are.
Says, Sheriff,
and they take him into this spot of the woods.
I found some panties. You want to go sniff them later?
I found that issue of Precious Waters that Tim Hamilton and the city Bimco is always talking about. You know, the Playboy with that fictional woman he made up and keeps talking about. I found it. It's real.
Sheriff, I found my precious. Anyway.
Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Why? So the sheriff and leads, and this guy Luther, who's this big redneck, lead these two guys into the woods.
They let them drive them. They're the stupidest federal men. Yeah.
And they drive them there, and there's a spot where they're like, look, somebody buried something here. So I'm like, we're going to see some bodies. And the hit guy like smacks them both with karate chops from behind. They both land unconscious.
Yep.
He starts digging a grave. I'm like, so the sheriff is just, he's just murdering these guys straight up. And one of the guys stirs a little bit, and we have like a 5-minute montage of Luther stamping on their heads.
Right. I thought we were going to see
which is the closest. We saw a little bit. Like you see him moving some stiff bodies around. They bury the bodies. And at some point during this,
George, wait,
because the movie was cut up.
Bodies.
They do. Oh, you're right. They don't bury the bodies.
They throw them into the still.
Into the still, yeah. So apparently, this famous moonshine.
That's why it tastes so good.
And we learn later that he also threw the body of
Della,
the lady who he killed, Della, in there. So there's at least 3 bodies in there, presumably more since other Federals had gone missing. So like this moonshine they love is filled with human meat.
They don't really ever go into that much, but yeah,
it's definitely weird. And
our hero Doug is walking some reason in the woods.
He finds a shoe. Well, I assume because they were out looking for the Federals, like they were in on the murder, but they weren't.
Yeah.
And he finds his shoe, and he recognizes this is Della's shoe.
Like, this is Della's shoe. It's her favorite shoe. She ground it into my chin.
She loves the right shoe. Her left shoe she hates.
Yeah, she throws it away.
Yeah.
Makes me go pick it up and bring it back to her on all fours. So they want to get...
so I want to interrupt for a list.
Okay.
Yeah, this is another top 10 list. Yeah.
I have to cut this one out.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Play
can't cut this list out. All right, play the music. All right, list music. So this one, I was going a little further afield because about this point, they're walking through the woods. I'm like, you know what? What creatures are they going to see here? And I'm like, what would be an interesting thing? I'm like, top 10 cryptids you might find in South Carolina.
Okay.
All right, number 10, Bigfoot.
Right.
He's everywhere. Yeah. Number 9, the Lizard Man of Bishopville. This is a true, quote unquote, true cryptid account. He is described as being covered with hair.
Why is he a lizard man?
So he's a lizard man, but I know that's very confusing, right? Sounds to me like he's a Bigfoot too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
this lizards. Is a weird. This one is lesser known. He's big shin, but actually kind of small foot. So he's big shins but small feet. Yeah.
So he's Popeye.
He's like Popeye. Yeah.
Okay.
The Charleston Chew Pacabra.
Is he made of chocolate?
Yep. Yeah.
Filled with caramel?
It breaks your teeth when you chew on him. This is another real one. The Pink Mess of Goose Creek.
Ooh, that's a real one?
Yeah, and like the description of this, it was like a pink blob. When they flipped it over, it had alligator-like feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The boo hag, which is a that's another real one. A boo hag is a creature that sneaks in your house and wears your skin.
Boo hag is a character from Boner's Ark. Come on.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it like Priscilla the pig?
Yes.
And then the companion to the boo hag is the hooray hag.
No. Okay.
Yep. You get it? Boo hag, hooray hag.
Yeah, I know. Boo
yeah.
hag, hooray. Boo.
And then there's a normal-sized foot, but has one big thumb. Yeah, he's one.
Big thumb.
Yeah, just one big thumb though.
Call him Tom Thumb.
And then there's we're at number 2, the less cool version of something from North Carolina. That's something that they have in South Carolina as a cryptid.
Yeah.
And the number 1 cryptid of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham.
I'm glad you got him twice because I had no Trump jokes.
Zing, zing.
You know why
Just wait till you get to Kentucky, Mitch McConnell.
You know why Big Thumb annoys people down there? Because they're always asking him.
Hitchhiking?
They're like, should I go see Moonshine Mountain? He's like, thumbs up. And later, like,
but he can't lift his thumb up because it's so big. It's always pointed down. And they're like, you're confusing me. You're saying thumbs up, you're pointing thumbs down. Right. He's like, it's just damn big thumb of mine.
He gave Ebert and Siskel their idea. They stole it. Yeah.
All
right. So they want to.
He discovers a shoe. I don't remember what happens from here, Tim.
Oh, well, the sheriff realizes that people have figured out what's going on. And he wants to lure them to one spot and blow them up with dynamite because he has much dynamite. So he tells them the still is on fire.
Oh, yeah,
and boy, you never seen no hillbillies run so fast as when they find out their still's on fire.
Where is our main character during this? Does he get captured? Is he running free?
He's running free.
That's the part I'm confused about.
Yeah, because they don't all come at once. That's why.
Yeah.
They even drag Luann, who's sucking her thumb on the floor, to help put out the fire. That was confusing. Yeah, they kind of, it's all a mess, and he does not blow them up because some of them show up behind him, and he runs up on the still, our sheriff, and Luann
he's shooting at them from the still, and
says, "I will shoot you." Oh, he shoots Luther in the face.
Yeah, he does.
And they're all crying.
Luther's alive?
Yeah, they're cradling him.
Still?
He survives, George. He survives to a sequel. But we'll get to that.
But it was pointed out that this was right after apparently this was right after the Starkweather case where the guy climbed up the water tower and shot people.
Was it?
Yeah.
This was also 1 year after JFK was shot.
This is the same year the Beatles came. Yep.
Yes.
And it was 6 years before the Beatles split up.
Right.
And it was 17 years before Star Wars.
It's 2 years before John Lennon says they're more popular than Jesus.
This is all good stuff. People... If you enjoy our podcast, please write to us at seddybimco with an A at the end at gmail.com.
So there's no place to hide in the still, but Luann just climbs up with the axe, and the sheriff seems to not notice her.
Yep.
And
so she kills him with an axe.
Axes him. Him.
She goes, "Can I axe you a question?" And she sticks it right in. It's like we're watching The Shining all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yep.
He goes, "I should have seen this coming." He goes, "I'm the sheriff." And George is like, "Who is this guy?"
I'm like,
"You can't kill me. I'm the sheriff." I was the sheriff. And they put him in the moonshine. They're like, "Yeah, this is how we make the moonshine."
Do they put him in the moonshine?
I think she.
I think they actually bury him.
No, they walk away, George, and then the dynamite blows up the still because the dynamite was still there.
Yep.
Big finish.
There was an explosion. Yeah.
And she says, Lordy Pa, what a mess. And that's my review on Letterboxd of this film. Lordy Pa, what a mess.
Yep. And the postscript.
So, this movie had more endings than Lord of the Rings. Did you notice? There were like 4 endings.
It was. Yeah.
He flies away. Mary Lou's crying a little less, and Pa's like, "Well, I guess she's getting better after being raped behind the chicken coop." Basically.
Yep.
It's awful.
I mean, without saying those same words, but yeah.
Awful, George.
And his other daughter is missing. He's just like, "Where'd she run off to?"
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to be overly concerned. And then the music guy, the picker.
Guitar. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, Ed steals his guitar because Ed just trades stuff.
I traded him with my lucky rabbit foot.
And then the picker guy is on TV,
yep.
and he's playing music
because he paid for electricity for them. They're like, "Paul, the TV's
and he paid
working."
For electricity. Yeah, so the TV's finally working.
And the
he
TV
pays for
is like
for them.
4K. It would be like a fuzzy antenna.
That's a good point, Tim.
And George,
when
they saw him on TV and they heard his songs, that got cut out. But I found it. I found what he's saying about.
Oh, wow, what?
Couple of trips to outhouse owned by Mr. McServe will make you wish you'd never been born with a working olfactory nerve.
Good one, Tim.
Drinking some carpenter moonshine will leave you with no clothes. You'll also see your shoes are gone along with your toes. There's two more. If you find some electricity and make that our TV glow, nobody'll see it anyway. They're out watching the grass grow.
Nice.
If you sleep with Pa's daughter without any permission, he'll just laugh and fall down drunk because he's a bad addition to the human race.
A bad addition to the human race. Wow, Tim. That's too bad that was cut out because that really did enhance the movie. I'm glad you're able to restore it, and I hope future historians of the films of HGL will find this and reinsert it back where it needs to be.
Yes.
The final bit to add after that song, they reveal in an interview that he has the guitar player guy is now married to the daughter that wasn't cognitively impaired. And it's like she comes from a big family down there. They're in the liquor business. They're like, oh, we're in the liquor business. Wow, shooting guns. And then
he just outed them. He outed them. Like, meanwhile, the federal's like, oh, that's that same place we keep sending multiple federal agents to inspect if they have liquor business. Oh, yeah, let's go arrest them all for murder now. And then I have my final list, Tim. You ready for it? Oh, my God. Yep. Yep. Are you ready? This final list is the top things I'd rather do than watch Moonshine Mountain. Well, anything. Number 1, sleep. Yes. Number 2, drink actual moonshine. Yeah. Number 3, sort small rocks. For Ed's dinner. Number 4, make lists. Number 5, see Tim's bare feet. And the number 6 thing that I'd rather do than watch Moonshine Mountain is watch Whiskey Mountain. The end. Yay. We should go to Revenge. Yabe. Let's do it. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. So who from this movie is most likely to get kicked out of Sweden for asking where the fancy elevators are? I think. Who would go to Sweden? Doug, I guess. He's the only one who's ever. Well, actually, Della could go in an airplane, but she's dead. That's so, right. Yeah. He gets out of. He's talking to the people there, and he gets out a piece of paper because he can't remember why he's there. Again, I don't know why that happened in the movie. It was probably a joke that just didn't land. I'm here to see the fancy elevators. And they said, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. Anyway, he got kicked out of Sweden for asking where the fancy elevators are because at that time there were no elevators in Sweden, and everybody was very insulted. And Luann, was Luann who he married? I don't know their names. Yeah, Luann. The brown-haired one he married. And where? She's like, and where you keep them there? Them there Nazi synthesizers. I mean. Did you say synthesizers? Yeah. And they're like, get out. There. Get out. Is that better? Is that worse? And then they took the Swedish fish that he had been smuggling in his pants out. And he's like, I was going to chew on them later. All right. The end. The end of Seddy Bimco. The end of human decency. I do want to mention something which should insult Mr. Johnny Cash. But he went in Appalachia when they discovered the Carter family. I think these were called the Carters. They became famous musicians, and he married one of their daughters. The Carter family. So so anyway. And do you think this is the same Carters? I think this was a documentary about Johnny Cash going to meet his daughter. Wow, that's rough. Yeah, I'd be very insulted. If he weren't dead already, he'd kill them all. Johnny Cash. You want to go first and tell your? I'll inspire you. Don't you want to get ideas while I say it, or no? You can build on mine.
Maybe.
You can build on
Maybe.
mine.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will, Tim.
This movie ended with this family finding out what TV's all about.
They did.
And they ended up seeing that our Star Trek show where white people are kissing green people. And they saw that our show where a man is living with a witch. Bewitched. And they saw them. They are fake Beverly Hillbillies that made a mockery of all that they hold dear. But they were all okay for a few years. But then, them Beatles, they came on and said they're more popular than Baby Jesus. And that they're not going to stand for that. Ain't no hippie going to say that about my little baby savior, Pa said. He said, we're gonna get revenge on them for that thar lie. So there's...
That thar lie.
Yep. So they trade Ed's nice jacket for a car they steal, and they're not great with geography because they're half blind from the moonshine, and they drive all the way to Liverpool, New York. Liverpool, New York.
Oh, Liverpool, New York.
The Beatles were not there, but Pete Best and his new band, the Pete Best Combo, was there. That was one of his bands.
Oh, that's sad.
So
wait, that's not sad. He probably was pretty successful, honestly.
I'm not shitting on him. Now, they did find some old magazines on their hunt called, those old hippie magazines called Tiger Beat. And they're a bit old, and they said that their Pete Best was the drummer for the Beatles because they were old, out of date. Get it? They're old. So they snuck backstage and knocked people out with their moonshine spirits. And Luther hit them on the, people on the head with a log, and they kidnapped Pete Best. And they took him to the Best Western Hotel and tried to call up them Beatles, but they accidentally, looked in the yellow pages. They called up the VW Beetle dealer, and they found out that nobody cared if they had Pete Best. And even if they had called the Beatles, they wouldn't have cared. If they had...
I was about to say.
So after a while, after a few days, they realized their plan had failed. Nobody cares about Pete Best. So they left Pete Best in that Best Western, dressed in his Sunday best, and they wished him the best. And they were sure. They heard them federal men were after them now because they'd done this. So what do they have to do? They can't go back home. So they had to go someplace more South Carolina than South Carolina itself, a small town in Texas. And they just hid out in a house and never talked to nobody because they were hiding. And in Luther's face, they took him with them. It healed up real bad.
Did they make him a leather mask?
He became a leather face, and Pa drank moonshine till he simply sat in a chair, unable to move or speak.
Was he eventually making chili?
Yes.
Maybe in a sequel.
Right. This movie is the second movie in the trilogy we know as the Texas Chainsaw trilogy.
I like it. I don't know what Pete Best was doing there, but you know what? Anything leads into...
This movie's called Best Years of Our Lives, George. Number 2. Second
Wouldn't
movie.
This be a quadrilogy? Because the first movie is Moonshine Mountain. The second movie is Best Years of Our Life. The third movie is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the fourth movie is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you got it.
Yep. Okay.
Stop my music.
That was good, Tim.
Stop my music.
All right. All right. Start my music,
George's
I guess.
Music.
Yeah.
Should it be disco music or funny music?
Yeah, let's do disco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I got to dig that up.
Disco music. Yeah, nice. I'm excited. All right. So we're grooving to the cool beats of disco about 6 years too early because this movie is set in 1964.
Well, maybe time passes.
There's a lot of carnage in this film.
Yeah.
A lot of people die. The sheriff, maybe Luther, at least 5 federales, probably other people.
Oh, yeah.
The revenge happens from, what was the main character's name?
Doug the Picker.
When Doug goes on TV and Doug the Picker, as he's absentmindedly raining his fingernails across the scabs that cover his face, he's like, yeah, I married this woman from this one county down in South Carolina, and they're big into the liquor business.
Oops.
Well, you know who's watching? J. Edgar Hoover. And he's like, I've been sending a lot of guys to that place. They don't come back. And when they don't come back, they don't bring many lacy undergarments either.
Isn't he busy tapping Martin Luther King's phones? Anyway,
yeah, he's a multitasker. Right. You don't get to be the head of the CIA without being able to tap several phones and send guys down to check out whiskey.
Okay.
So they go down there, and they immediately find this big still with dead bodies in it. And you'd think that's just the end of the story, right, Tim?
But it blowed up, George.
It didn't really blow up because they save it. We know they still are in the whiskey business afterwards, the moonshine business.
They put the bodies back in.
What happened? They put the bodies back in, of course, because that turns out that's a crucial ingredient. It's the missing ingredient of catfish Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
But something about this weird mix they put in there reanimates those bodies.
Uh-oh.
They rise from the dead. G-men from beyond the grave, going out eating brains. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff, too. It's law enforcement. And this, Tim, this is why we have the law enforcement problems in the country we do now. Because these G-men and this sheriff, they reinsert themselves back into society. Sheriff just takes his place behind his desk in his ill-defined sheriff's office. The G-men rejoin the FBI or the CIA or whatever the fuck they were. And they slowly but surely infect the rest of them. And that's the end. And all, yeah. So if you're listening to Seddy Bimco and you're involved in law enforcement in any way, shape, or form, I'm sorry to inform you, we are on to you. We know that you are an undead, whiskey-fueled zombie.
I thought the federal men are going down there they could dump the body of the real person who shot JFK, to get rid of the real person.
You would think that, Tim, but we all know the guy who really shot JFK was Luther.
Could have been.
Yep. Postscript scene, like the after credits scene, Della comes up. She goes. She reanimates because we forgot she was there. All the civilization has been infiltrated by these zombie law enforcement officials. She wakes up. She goes, "Hey, where's my shoe?" That's it.
It's my favorite shoe. Or was it not her favorite shoe?
No, that was her favorite shoe. That's why he knew it was up. She goes, if my left shoe was missing, I wouldn't give a shit. I'm used to hopping around town in one shoe. But my right shoe's missing. Got to find that shoe.
She says
and that's going to be the third movie in my trilogy.
She says, you guys is fooling around like a couple of shoes is. He says, actually, the plural of shoe is shoes.
Is shoe. It's like fish. She's like, no. All right, let's end this.
You got George. Let's see.
Yep.
Is there mail?
Is there mail?
Well, I checked.
It's never mail. It's no
nope,
mail.
It's all clogged up.
Yeah, it's all clogged.
And what, did you pick a movie?
I did.
Okay.
All right, so
I'm scared.
Tim.
I'm scared.
No, don't be scared. There is a little bit of apologies. This movie's a little bit longer.
Oh my God.
It's like an hour 45 minutes.
That disqualifies movies.
It is the second in a famous 80s movie series. Some might say defining movie series.
Bristol County Jr.
No. Like a series of movies, Tim.
Hercules.
What is who's probably the single most famous hero to come out of the 80s? Starred in like a movie I maybe even mentioned earlier in this very podcast.
Mr. T.
No.
He was.
And this is maybe he wasn't. He was in one movie. He was in DC Cab. What else was? Oh, and he was in Rocky. You're right.
Mr. Raiders of the Lost Indiana Jones.
Yep. I was trying to make you say that.
What?
So you think we're doing Temple of Doom? Because that was filmed in my state, Arizona.
What?
However, we're not filming that. We are doing Beastmaster 2.
Beastmaster 2?
Filmed in the great state. Is it great? Filmed in the state of Arizona. Beastmaster 2.
You got Arizona. If I had gotten Arizona, it was going to be Kingdom of the Spiders. So there. I'll cross that off the list.
Oh, that literally was one of the things I thought of doing for that. But when I saw Beastmaster 2 was there, and I saw Beastmaster 2 is available in its entirety on YouTube.
Holy shit.
Although I don't know if Beastmaster 2 has a nude scene, but I sure hope it does. Stars Kari Wurr.
Kari Wurr.
I'm going to type in Beastmaster 2. You know her. She was in everything back in the day.
Everything was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it was.
Top 10.
Beastmaster 2
you
nude
guessed
scene.
another one of my top 10 movies. Everything.
Nice.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
There's apparently a bra scene in the movie.
Beastmaster, why do they have bras?
Beastmaster 2.
Can I tell you?
Beastmaster 1, the thing I was excited, Beastmaster 1, I remember watching that one a lot. Tanya Roberts is in that, and she's naked in like half that movie.
So like us and love us everywhere. and listen to us on Wednesdays and write us emails and give us 5 stars or 10 stars.
Yeah.
Email.
Send us money.
SeddyBimco@gmail.com. Look at our blog because I illustrate what happens in our sequence.
Maybe I'll do drawing one day too. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe George.
Keep listening. Go listen to Spaghetti and Freddy too. Give that Kevin Kablaster. Throw that guy a bone.
Eat a mega stuffed Oreo while you listen. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Come here, what happened here? And I'm like, I don't know. It kept going everywhere. And then Monday, when she comes home from work with her sweatshirt, she's like, there's chocolate everywhere in my sweatshirt. I don't know where chocolate's coming from. It just went everywhere. Anyway, that's my story. Chocolate everywhere. From that.
Where did the chocolate come from?
Those chocolate chip cookie I ate.
Why was there so much of it?
I don't know. It's a mystery to me.
I think that's weird. That's a weird story. It is a mystery.
Yeah, we'll cut it out.